Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today, I will be creating my version of the Minusverse. This has been a very large project, and you're not gonna get it all today. There's absolutely no way. Just what I have right now is already 4 pages worth of writing. I know that. I'm gonna sit here and ramble on a little more than what I already have written down. So, listen, this is going to be this is going to probably end up being a very long video, and so to sit through, relax, grab yourself something to eat, grab a drink, because we are going into how I would make the Minusverse, and well, it looks like this is going to be a possibly 5-part series that I'm going to have to do. I think that the plan as of right now is I'm going to get through this episode today, and then we're getting here near the end of November. I'm already struggling as is with all my school stuff, so I think this is going to have to take a break, go on pause until December once I'm done, and then I think you all should get the other 4 to 5 parts all in December, maybe one each week, and I think this is a good timing in terms of how I'm going to do this. I've got the end of season 1 of Godzilla Island coming up here soon. That should be done by the end of November or early December. So I think in December we're gonna go back to just a more chill schedule than this like daily uploads, and then we're just gonna crank this out because I want to get this done. It's a very hard, large project it's very good, and I want to share this with you all. And that's why it's taking so much time, is because I want this to be good. And man, is it good. And I think you all are really going to like this, but it's so much work. And I want to do -1 right, and I want to do the rest of the Toho franchise right by my ideas and how I would make this series. I just, like, it's so much more work than the Monsterverse was, right? So with the Monsterverse, I was already building off of all the groundwork that's already been put down. I was just changing. Here, I am writing movies, basically. I am, like, sitting here writing a whole movie for you all, but I have to do, like, 10 all in once, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I do not have the time. So, this is going to be a long project. You all are just going to have to bear with me here. Yesterday, I'm sorry, I did not get a upload out yesterday, so I guess technically I didn't get to an upload every single day this month, so I'm sorry about that. But this project it's too big. It's too much work for me to do alone, and still be doing daily uploads also throughout the entire month of November. So I think if I put this to the side, then that should be good. I will just I'll come back to it in December, and I'll finish out the daily uploads for November. So, enough of the rambling on about how I'm planning on doing this. I just wanted to keep you all up to date and let you know what this is going to kind of look like going forward through November and December. Let's get back into the introduction and kind of introducing what this whole project is. So, the Minusverse is me building off of Godzilla -1, and it's going to be taking place right after Godzilla -1. And going forward, about 8 to 10 movies. I haven't quite finished how this is going to end yet. I'm halfway done. I still have another half of the movies to write. So we're just going to get through the first couple here, and then we'll just kind of build more and more as we go. And yeah. So the Minusverse has only one film so far. So I have total control. And it's a Toho project, so it's not like the Monsterverse where I'm like, oh, I can't really just be throwing in any Toho monster that I want, because realistically that can't happen. But here, it can. Godzilla's a big enough name that it doesn't matter at this point what monster he goes up against. It doesn't have to be Ghidorah and Mechagodzilla every time. Okay, I can do any monster basically that I want that's owned by Toho. So that's the plan. I'm going to go all out with this, and it's going to be very fun. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this thing. So, the first film in my -1 verse is obviously Godzilla minus one. It's a perfect film, and unlike in the Monsterverse, I'm not going to change the first film. There's no need to. It ends perfectly. Um, I just wanted to clarify that and get it out of the way, and just let you all know the minus one stays exactly how it is, and we're just going to go from there. So the next film in the universe is going to be titled Godzilla. I think the next film being titled just Godzilla makes sense since the first was called minus one. I don't know, it's just a fun play of words, and I want there to be a movie just titled Godzilla again. Like I think I really like whenever that happens. I mean, I don't see a problem with it just being titled Godzilla. Like or it could just be Gojira. Like I mean, I get like Godzilla King of the Monsters, Godzilla Return, like the Return of Godzilla, or Godzilla 85 or Shin Godzilla. Like, let's just bring it back. Let's do Godzilla. So that's what I'm gonna do here. So this film will be taking place in 1954, paying homage to the original film. This film will actually feature two Godzillas, which I think was perfectly set up by minus one. So after nearly a decade has passed from the events of Godzilla minus one, Koichi Shikishima is now burying his wife, Nariko. Now I know, that's probably going to shock a lot of you, starting off with killing off Nariko. I know, there was the mark on her neck at the end of minus one, and I think we just kill her off. I think that it will affect Koichi's character in a much better way than if we were to just keep her alive. I don't know how we'd do that. I think that if she lives, then Koichi's done. There's no more need for Koichi because he beat Godzilla. He's done. He's gonna go live his life off with Noriko and Akiko, and I think he's got one more movie in him. And I think the only way we get that is by killing off Noriko. So she's passed away from cancer caused by Godzilla. She fought for years, but over the past few months, it randomly got worse, and she died. Akiko is now much older and is sad over the loss of her mother. Ginza was rebuilt, but a government building was built in the heart of Ginza where Godzilla had attacked. This building has very high security, making it impossible to get into for anyone that doesn't have the clearance. There has been speculation about what the government could be hiding inside. A few months pass, and then one night, a ship disappears in the ocean, without a clue as to what happened. Koichi, who has been struggling with PTSD of Godzilla, which has only gotten worse as the 10-year anniversary of defeating Godzilla approaches, and the death of his wife. The ship disappearing makes headlines everywhere, and this causes Koichi to lose it, destroying his home, and even accidentally hurting Akiko in the process, who gets cut by a piece of glass. Koichi apologizes and holds his daughter, but his daughter runs away to Sumiko. Koichi leaves and flies around to try and calm down, but while flying, he sees another destroyed boat and calls it in. He returns home and takes Akiko home, but Sumiko is not happy with him and tells him he has to get some help. In the middle of the night, in Ginza, there is a loud explosion and a roar similar to Godzilla's, and then loud footsteps that slowly fade away. By the morning, the fire is finally put out, and you can clearly see this government building was a giant underground base containing a giant creature. So yes, we are returning to this whole Koichi having issues with PTSD. I think that, that's not something that goes away just because, you defeated this monster. Like, especially with the 10-year anniversary will be nearing for him and the death of his wife. He's not in a mental state to be taking care of a child, to be, the sole parent. So Sumiko kind of just puts her foot down and says, no, you need help. You can take Akiko home tonight, but after this, there's no more, you need help or I will take her from now. And then, you got this government building that was built in Ginza, very high security, and there was already some conspiracy theories going around and outside of the bubble, about what it could possibly be, and then it turns out that there was a giant monster in there, and it sounds like it was Godzilla. Japan is racked with fear as Godzilla has seemingly returned. Koichi has begun putting up newspaper clippings on his walls trying to keep track of the creature. He notices something. How could the ships be being destroyed if Godzilla was in the government building? He frantically drives over to see Kenji, Doc, if you don't know, and tell him what he realized. Doc is worried about him as he can tell Koichi is losing it. He has been trying to reach out to him for months since the death of Noriko, but Koichi never answered. Koichi and Doc fight and Koichi leaves as he has never felt so alone and scared. Godzilla then emerges out of the water and onto Ginza, looking a little hurt. He then spins around and surveys the water like he is looking for something. Ginza begins evacuating, and as the sirens begin to blare, another Godzilla emerges from the water. This one looks different from the other Godzilla. He is more hunched over and has scars all over him. He looks deformed on the face and legs, almost like he didn't grow back right. The Godzilla charges at each other and begin to trade blows on the shore, causing water to splash up on Ginza like a tsunami, flooding the city, causing buildings to collapse. The Godzillas continue to battle each other and throw each other around the rebuilt city. Civilians, soldiers, and reporters look on as the two giant creatures destroy the city. The deformed Godzilla sends off a powerful pulse throughout his body that knocks Godzilla back. The deformed Godzilla retreats after taking Godzilla down, and then they both disappear into the ocean. So yes, I think that this, there has to be a difference between the two Godzillas, and I think the best way to do it is that, you have this deformed one and you have this, the normal one that we all know and love. The one that we know and love is from the water. The deformed one, he's hunched over, he looks like he didn't regenerate correctly. It's because he was stuck in an underground base, he had to be that height, he couldn't be any taller, and he was trapped. So I think that that's a cool way to do it. And then I wanted to return Godzilla's pulse attack that he does in the Heisei era, and I thought giving it to this deformed looking Godzilla that maybe has a little more power to him in terms, not in terms of physical strength, but in terms of nuclear energy, like fire breath and things like that. Maybe that would be more powerful for him, just to kind of even the playing field and make the two Godzillas stand out from one another. Scientists and the military, as well as people that have defeated Godzilla the first time, all meet up and discuss what they have learned. Koichi arrives looking very sick and disheveled. The group realizes that the deformed one is the one being hidden in the government building, and the other is from the ocean. The military plans a trap for the two to kill both Godzillas, and end this once and for all. This will be done using maser cannons, something the military created in case Godzilla came back. The military sets up waves along the shore to defend Ginza in case of an attack. After waiting for 16 hours, the Godzillas emerge. Only, they aren't in Ginza, where the plan was set. The Godzillas emerge in Yaizu, nearly 2 hours away. The plan is cancelled, and the two monsters begin destroying the city. Koichi is angered by this, and ignores the call. He begins flying to Yaizu to defeat Godzilla. The Godzillas continue to beat each other up, and destroy the entire city in the process. Koichi arrives and begins shooting at both the kaiju, distracting them. The two Godzillas continue to fight, tearing chunks of skin off as they regenerate. The two start to move inland while fighting, and Koichi follows. Doc gets a hold of Koichi, and they devise a plan to lead the monsters to Mount Ontake. And drop them in the volcano. The two monsters continue to battle across Japan, destroying major cities and killing millions of people. Eventually, the two arrive at the mountain, and Koichi leads them both up, eventually dropping them both in. The two creatures roar in pain, which is heard across Japan. Koichi lands and falls to his knees in tears, mourning the loss of Noriko. His crewmates pick him up, and they take him home. Koichi vows to be done with Godzilla, saying he avenged Noriko for him and Akiko, but now he has to be a father. Doc returns home and notices a note left at his door. It reads, Godzilla is not the only one, with coordinates right under it. The movie ends, but says that Godzilla will return. So yes, that is my second movie in the Minusverse. It's titled Godzilla, and it's an emotional one, with the struggle of loss and continuing the theme of guilt that is throughout what I want, how I want to keep the entire Minusverse. I want that to be a major theme throughout it all. I think that it's very impactful that, there will be emotional scenes with Akiko now that she's older, and she will be really mourning the loss of her mom. And that will be a big motivator for Koichi. So yeah, that is my second film. And going into the third one, it is titled Godzilla Raids Again. I love using original titles, which I'm sure if you watched the How I'd Make the Monsterverse, you already know this. Alright, so I think that Godzilla Raids Again is a perfect title, and I really like it, and I think it's a great one to go right here. So the movie starts off with Doc sitting at home reading the note left for him. He finds a map of Japan he had stored away and looks to see where the coordinates take him to. He finds out it's Mount Fuji, and he gets a team of Japanese scientists to investigate. They discover high levels of radiation around the mountain, and Doc notifies the military. They set up a quarantine zone and a team for Doc to monitor what is going on at the mountain. Doc begins to worry about the possibility of other monsters even stronger than Godzilla appearing. Months pass, and Doc's team continues to take data on what's going on at Mount Fuji. Earthquakes begin to occur all across Japan, causing sinkholes across the nation. The Japanese military begins to investigate these unnatural occurrences and discovered large tunnels under Japan have been dug the size of buildings. Weeks pass, and these events continue to occur as the U.S. military stations troops to help Japan deal with whatever is causing this. Then, one cold winter night, Mount Ontake begins to erupt, and Godzilla emerges larger than ever before. Godzilla has returned. Godzilla marches down the mountain. He must have grown 30 meters, and he looks angrier than ever. Doc is in shock, standing there, staring as he watches on the TV at Mount Fuji, as Godzilla begins to march through Japan once again. This is the end for Japan. This is the end for us all, says Doc. So yes, we are straight back into it. This movie will take place basically directly right after the previous one. It'll take place around the beginning of 1955, which, works out because Raids Again took place in 55, or was made in 55. That's how I wanted it. I'm being creative here. I'm paying a homage to anything that I can with the Showa era here, because I really want this to be not necessarily like the Showa era, but I want to take inspiration from the Showa era. So I think that this is a very easy way to just keep nailing it home that this is based off the Showa era in a way. Godzilla begins to march straight for Mount Fuji. On his way to Mount Fuji, Godzilla is stopped by a giant monster burrowing underground. The giant creature is Baragon. Baragon leaps at Godzilla and bites his arm, but Godzilla flings him across the valley. Godzilla charges at Baragon, but another monster emerges from the hole, and it attacks Godzilla as well. It's Varan, who leaps at Godzilla and scratches his eyes. Godzilla stumbles back as his eyes begin to regenerate. Godzilla now angrily charges at the two monsters, but they are able to get the upper hand and take down Godzilla, stopping him in his tracks. Godzilla gets up and charges up his fire breath, and Varan glides out, but Baragon takes the blast head on and is left defenseless after. Godzilla goes in to finish the job, but Varan stops him, clawing at Godzilla, cutting him up badly. Godzilla tries to attack Varan, but he is too fast until he catches him with a tail swipe straight into a mountain, crushing Varan. The two monsters are left there for dead, and Godzilla continues to march toward Mount Fuji. The US and Japanese military plan a strike on the creature, dropping bombs on him, as well as a barrage of missiles from tanks. Godzilla destroys the military fleet and keeps on moving forward. Godzilla finally arrives at Mount Fuji and begins digging, clawing his way through the rock. Doc watches in horror as Godzilla, like a possessed creature, tears his claws up while digging, blood coming out everywhere as he regenerates his claws and then continues to dig. Eventually, Godzilla stops and stares at the hole he has made, and then Godzilla charges up his fire breath, only to suddenly be met by Varan and Baragon, attacking Godzilla, dropping him to the ground. Doc and his team begin to run, realizing nothing is safe, and they retreat into the forest. Doc and his team walk through the forest and get on a hill. As they sit there and watch the monsters fight it out in horror, the two monsters continue to lay it on Godzilla, beating Godzilla around. Godzilla finally catches Varan out of the sky and breaks his neck, throwing him at Baragon. So yes, I'm bringing back Baragon and Varan, two classic Toho monsters, and they're going to put up a real good fight against Godzilla, but it's not going to be enough. Godzilla is stronger, he's bigger than ever before, much bigger than he was in the past two movies, growing 30 meters, almost double the height that he was already. He is a beast, he's much larger, but he's still, this isn't a total redesign. This is like going from 89 to 91. You know, they still look pretty similar, but there's some minor changes, and he's bigger. He feels like a bigger threat, and that's what I want to do here for this movie. And I love the inclusion of Baragon and Varan here. I think it's perfect. They're not anything crazy. They're just natural monsters that could easily just be added in as creatures that have been, you know, living underground. Like there doesn't have to be some crazy explanation to it. Baragon is stuck under Varan and has nowhere to go. Godzilla marches towards Baragon, and then a monster begins to crawl out of the hole Godzilla made. Anguirus crawls out and roars, causing Godzilla to spin around. Anguirus, much bigger than Baragon and Varan, appears to be able to stand a better chance against Godzilla. Anguirus charges at Godzilla and tackles him down. Doc watches and devises a plan that might just be able to stop all of this. The team had set explosives around to kill whatever was inside, and they might still be able to use them. Doc knows the explosives won't kill any of the monsters, but it might be enough to bury the two. Godzilla struggles as Anguirus pins him down and bites at his neck, and for the first time, Godzilla looks like he is in real trouble. So yes, the third monster is Anguirus. I wanted to, you know, it's a dream of mine to get this film with Godzilla, Anguirus, Baragon, and Varan. It was the original plan for GMK, and I would love to see this movie in some form like this be made. I think that this is what GMK should have been, or still make GMK what they did, but they should have still made this film as well. I really like the idea of these three teaming up against Godzilla, and so this is my Minusverse. I'm gonna make it happen. I don't think it makes sense, you know. All three of these monsters are more natural. It's not like I'm saying Gigan showing up out of space or Ghidorah. These are monsters that could very well have been hiding underground. It's back in the 50s. It's not like they had all the technology we do now. They very well could have missed things and not known there were all these monsters living underground in Japan. So I think that this is what makes the most sense, and it's the best way to do it in my opinion. Godzilla, fighting for his life, throws Anguirus off of him, only to be met by Baragon, who lunges at Godzilla, knocking him down once again. Doc's team heads back down to retrieve the detonator, and in the process, several of them die. The few remaining survivors run for their lives after getting the detonator. They return to the hill and watch and wait for the monsters to get close to Mount Fuji again. Godzilla lifts Baragon into the air and throws him near Doc's team, causing the hill they are on to shake. Godzilla begins to walk towards Baragon, but Anguirus charges at Godzilla, knocking him into Mount Fuji. Godzilla begins to charge his fire breath up, and Anguirus runs at him, and then Doc detonates the bomb, yelling while doing so. The two monsters fall into the earth and are buried alive. The dust settles, and they are both gone. Baragon gets back on his feet and walks away, eventually burrowing into a mountain. Doc and his team decide Baragon is not a threat and let the military know. Doc returns home and sits down in his chair and finds the paper with the coordinates on them. Maybe there are even more of them out there, Doc says. The movie ends, but there is an end credit scene. The military officers are all sitting in a room and reveal a map of all confirmed monsters. We see Godzilla, Anguirus, Baragon, and then two other monsters, Mothra and Rodan. It then cuts to Varan's lifeless body being surrounded by military vehicles. And that's where this movie ends. So yeah, that's all I've got for you all so far. I should have this next part probably early December out for you all. So just a couple more weeks, and then I'll start really cranking this whole series out. I hope you all enjoyed. I know I did. I really like what I've got so far, and I think you all are going to as well. I think this is better than what I did for How I Make the Monsterverse, so I'm very excited for this. So if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out, and I think that this could be a big video for this channel, and a big series that really starts to define what this channel is. You know, I have my Godzilla Island series, and that's a big core part of this channel. But what started all of this, and what really made my channel start to get larger, and you know, where my first ever video to hit 1,000 views was How I Would Make the Monsterverse, and I think this How I Would Make series could really be something. And so just show some support if you want to see more of this, and I will get the rest of it out as soon as I possibly can. And yeah, sorry for the rambling. I just kind of wanted to explain everything. I know, and How I Make the Monsterverse, a lot of you said you wanted a more in-depth details, so I'm doing that as much as I possibly can for you all. Obviously, I'm not writing a full script. That'd just be too much. I went more into detail than how I did in the How I Make the Monsterverse, but you know, I can't just sit here and write, you know, a whole monologue. So that's all I got for you today. Like I said, if you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one.